Are you about to sign a release with an insurance company after getting in an auto accident? Check out this short video to learn the things that you need to do before you sign on the dotted line. Hey everybody, Barry here with the Lawful channel. On this channel you get short videos on the legal topics that affect our lives. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments section below. If I can't help you, I'll try and find somebody who can. And if you haven't already, would you please subscribe to our channel? Now let's jump into the video. Okay, so you were in an accident or other personal injury, and you've come to an agreement with an insurance company on an amount. They're going to send you something called a release of all claims. I mean, maybe it's called a settlement agreement or something else, but generally what we're talking about is a release. You are releasing the insurance company and their insured, the defendant, from all liability for your claim in exchange for compensation. Now, the thing to know is that in 6 months, you are not going to be able to come back and say, hey, I now have pain in my shoulder, or I found a medical bill that I didn't know about. When you sign on that dotted line, your claim is over. So it's critical to cross all your T's and dot all your I's before you sign a release. So before you sign that release, ask yourself a few things. Is the amount you're settling for enough to cover your medical bills and all the expenses and still compensate you for your pain and suffering? If it's not, and you suffered injuries in an accident, I would strongly suggest talking to a personal injury attorney. There should be more than sufficient resources to compensate you for that aspect of your case, and if there's not, there's something wrong. And while we're talking about medical bills, who's paying them? Do you know for sure? Is the insurance company writing checks to the medical providers or your health insurance company to pay them back for the medical treatment that they provided you? Or are you supposed to take the resources from the check and pay the medical bills yourself? This is something you have to be crystal clear on. And the rules change by state. Some of you are in no-fault states. Some of you used MedPay insurance to pay some of your medical bills. You need to make sure that this question is completely answered before you sign a release. Also, have you negotiated your medical bills? So for example, if you have a $5,000 bill from a chiropractor, doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay $5,000 back. Try and negotiate the amount. An attorney definitely would. We would try to get at least a third off of that bill. Chiropractors know the deal. They know they have to give discounts. So for sure, try to negotiate all your medical bills down as much as you can. Every dollar you save is an extra dollar you put in your pocket. Another thing you need to address is, are there any liens on your case? L-I-E-N. Most people don't even know what a lien is. So it's very important to know if a hospital or a medical provider put a lien on your case. So what's a lien? It basically means that the provider has a stake in your case. You can't settle without them. You have to pay them back out of the proceeds, whatever you get, whether it be in settlement or in a recovery from trial. So it's critical to know if there's any liens on your case. Now, liens are, generally speaking, statutory. What does that mean? They're created by the laws in your state. So you got to check your state law to see what the lien laws are. You may have also voluntarily entered into a lien without even knowing it. Chiropractors do this all the time. One of the pages that you filled out when you got treatment was a lien. And you probably skipped over it, you signed it, you didn't even know about it, but it obligates you to pay them back. And this is critical because you don't want to settle your case, sign a release, and then find out in 6 months that you owe all this money and then have people sue you to get reimbursed. And by the way, there could be liens from other places too. So if you were injured on the job, there may be a workers' compensation lien. And those can be really difficult to deal with. In some states, you have to pay back 100% of those. You can't even negotiate those. And there may be a child support lien. Or perhaps you have Medicare or Medicaid. Well, they're definitely going to have a lien on your claim. So getting this lien issue resolved is really important. Are liens negotiable? Yeah, they are, generally speaking. I already mentioned that workers' compensation liens sometimes aren't negotiable at all, but generally speaking, liens can be negotiated as well, especially with health insurance companies. One of the benefits of a statutory law about liens is it may actually serve to protect you. A lot of states have enacted laws that say that a hospital or other provider that has a lien can only recover a certain percentage of your settlement. So again, it's really important to check those laws are before you sign on the dotted line. Something else to know is that your insurance company is going to be particularly concerned about liens. If they've been properly served with the lien, meaning it was given to them properly executed, then they have an obligation to make sure that those funds are paid, or they could be on the hook. So a lot of times what will happen is they'll cut checks to you, but they'll also cut the check with the name of the lien holder on it. Well, that's a lousy situation, because the last thing you want is your name on the check and then Mount St. Mary's Hospital's name on the check too, because you can't cash that check unless they sign it as well. That's another reason why getting this issue resolved before you sign the settlement or the release is really important. All right, here's an issue I'm sure you didn't think about, but it only applies to certain states. But if you are going to go after your own insurance, meaning underinsured motorist coverage, after you seek the $25,000 or whatever the policy limits are from the guy who hit you, you may have an obligation to ask your own insurance if it's okay to settle with the guy who hit you. Don't mess this up. If you plan on going after your own insurance, after you go after the third party, make sure you get their approval in writing. Another thing you might not have thought about. Let's say that the guy who hit you has $25,000 in insurance, but you've got a $100,000 injury. Well, that's a lousy situation, and it happens all the time. You may be thinking, hey, I want to go after this guy individually. I want to go after his assets. Well, I've talked about it many times on this channel. Chances are they don't have any assets. If they've got a minimum insurance policy or no insurance, chances are there's no assets. But you might want to consider doing an asset verification form, sending it to them and making them sign in front of a notary public that verifies that they only have under $50,000 in assets, they don't own a home, or they don't have equity in the home, or they don't have $50,000 in mutual funds, or whatever it might be. You can get an example off the internet very easily. Now, people will often sign these in front of a notary, even though they're totally lying. But it's another step you can take to verify that there are no assets other than the insurance proceeds that the guy has to go after. Okay, you've taken all these steps and you're thinking about signing the release. Read the release. Most people don't even read it, they just sign it. You don't know what you're releasing away. I had a personal injury case a long time ago, and it also involved property damage. The insurance company settled the property damage pretty quickly, and they sent us a release. Well, when I read the release, it also released their insured and the insurance company for damages for bodily injury. So I called the insurance company. I'm like, what are you trying to pull here? And they apologized. It was unintentional. Who knows, right? But read the release. There are going to be things in there that you're going to want to know about, such as non-disclosure agreements, whether you can talk about it or not. So make sure you read the release before you sign it. All right, I hope some of these tips have been helpful for you and have provided you a little guidance on things you might not have thought about before you settle with an insurance company. Now it's time for your take on the law. Did you receive a release and you didn't look at it? Or was there a medical lien that you didn't know about, that you had to pay later on? Tell us about any issue you had in the comment section below. Okay, thanks for checking out this short video on how to close out your car accident claim. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and if you have any questions or comments, reach out to me. If I can't help you, I'll try and find someone who can.